We've all had one of those games, right? A teammate just can't stop themselves from hurling abuse at his teammates with the attitude that they're the only good player on the team and everyone else is throwing. And what we're going to look at here today is a great example of that, where a teammate can be so confident that nothing is their fault, saying things like this.
Yeah, dude, the ash pick's really helpful too.
Oh, you're kidding, right? It was like a 5v6 the whole game.
When now, with the replay viewer, we actually can go back and look at everything you did in the game to get the full picture. So my goal here isn't to make an example out of an individual, but as to hopefully give context and a reminder to all of us whenever we're having that knee-jerk selfish reaction of blaming people at our team, who are also at the same rank as us, mind you, that it's the wrong impulse to have, as we're going to see from this player's gameplay. And it's my hope that when we look at how ridiculous this player looks, is that we remember that we all look ridiculous at certain points when playing this game, if not most of the time. But that's okay, because we can gradually learn over time and enjoy the process of learning something challenging but rewarding. That's what Overwatch is. So now I'll get off my soapbox. The goal of this video is to be a teachable moment for the community, not just a revenge fantasy, okay? Let's start digging into this Ashe player's gameplay. First of all, we're going to notice a major weakness in how this player plays Ashe, in that he focuses his fire on targets he can't kill, yet farming up reliable shots to charge Bob. Now, in some ways, this can be okay. Other characters do this. They're called spam characters, like Junkrat. Probably, until you get incredibly good at him, largely shoots at tanks for most ranks, and a big win condition is just getting up to Riptire, which can guarantee free kills. Ashe in the same way is kind of a spam character, lobbing in TNTs, but the real finesse of her is when you start to be able to win duels despite her kit being kind of balanced. She's not really insane at long range or close range or anything. You have to master her kit to be able to handle duels that come at you, and while this enemy team is just going to relentlessly send characters like Doomfist and Genji after the Ashe, is going to die repeatedly and never think to swap. That alone, as a playstyle, is probably a bad idea. But interestingly enough, instead of questioning, is the Ashe pick good, this player's tilted from the first second, essentially. He loses a duel to the Doomfist, which puts us a man down, meaning that they're going to have an ult advantage coming up. On our retake, it's pretty claustrophobic. We want to try to find picks wherever we can, and due to the ult advantage that the enemy had, that he partially contributed to, they have a Genji blade that they send at his Ashe as well. But in the flurry of this chaos, he's already raging at his other DPS.
Is our other DPS doing anything? McCree.
I just swap because neither one of you is doing.
Oh!
Why is this? I gotta think it's gotta be gold medal mentality. Because Ashe is so good at spamming at tanks, he must think that he's doing more work than his McCree teammate. This is Weagle we're watching. We called to have him swap over to McCree for the stun on the Doomfist who killed our teammate before. This is a pick to try to protect his pick, by the way. We're trying to be good teammates here. And then after that Genji Blaze subsides, he stuns him as well. Now, these are two easy kills, and then Liam derps out and kind of loses himself with his movement here, stepping out into the danger when he easily could have just stood behind his tank, played a little slower, allowing for our respawns to come in. This is a mistake by him, but to look to your fellow DPS when they've actually made 2 plays in that fight, acting like they did nothing, well, that's already problematic, isn't it? Now, it might be only from those things alone. We could pretty much surmise that this player's not going to have much useful things to say. But what's impressive is that he just continues on in this game playing worse and worse. It's almost impressive to me how bad he can play and how low a value he can get while being angry at everybody else. If you notice carefully, there's something that's happening with the enemy DPS and our DPS. Because a character like Ashe is easily diveable by Genji, anytime he gets Blade, we're just instantly all dead. Meanwhile, anytime our Ashe gets Bob, he throws it away. There's like 1.5 good Bobs used in this entire match. I've watched it extensively, and it's a big reason why we're getting snowballed as hard as we are. If Genji pops off a Blade, kills everybody, and we regroup, but you have Bob to stall the cart, slow the game down, give you more time to hit shots and actually get picks as Ashe, we're in a much different spot. But instead, this player wastes Bob at every opportunity, like horrible Bobs, tossing it right at the cart or deep onto the enemy team's side so they easily can focus it. This isn't what you want to do. With Ashe, you want to get Bob into a safe place where the fight is committed, where the enemy can't just parry back and focus him down in 2 seconds, then start the fight for real. No, you want the fight to be committed so he can stay in the fight without getting focused easily and shoot things down, or maybe use to stall the cart. To this player's credit, that is what he did with the first Bob on A, but seemingly by accident because just about every other Bob was just wasted. it. I mean, look here on this defense. Here's the funny thing. He throws this Bob into the abyss to the other team's spawn. I make the call that we need to go play with this resource. Because if our teammate is tossing resources at a fight, we need to all take advantage of that space it's created. Otherwise, the enemy's going to do what they've been constantly doing. Slow down, turn, kill the Bob in 2 seconds, then move up. You're not getting any ult value out of that. Instead, me pushing forward commands extra space and then pulls 2 ults out of the enemy. Now, because I have high ground, line of sight advantage, I can just run back, knowing we have a massive ult advantage. Getting the enemy to ult to get out of spawn is one of the best high tier tactics you can do, because what the enemy wants to do is to use their ults to win a fight at the cart. But if you play aggressive and go take a fight earlier and they have to ult before they get to the cart, well, you respawn in 10 seconds. Even if you lost that fight, it can be advantageous to pull ults out early in that type of scenario. But that doesn't even happen. Then when we do so, we pull out our own ults, win the fight, and they have nothing to speak of, right? Stalling out all their progress. This is not what the enemy wants. They want to convincingly wipe us off the cart and push it all the way home. Now, the reason I'm so passionate about explaining this is because when I did this move, this player is so convinced that this Bob play was good that he says this on the mic.
Just play with our Bob.
I'm trying to pocket pop, but they don't know what to damage.
That's just one on the right
The
side.
point of using
Come back now, come back, come back, come back, come back.
It's just to hold him back.
Back, back, back.
I don't know why everyone pushed that.
God.
He actually thinks that Bob being out for 2 seconds when the enemy isn't even engaging yet is somehow good and doesn't have the game sense to notice when the enemy pop 2 ults to escape their spawn that this is a massive win for us. But instead he's upset because at low ranks, at like Diamond and Plat, players have no idea how to play aggressive. They're not playing for the ult economy, they don't really understand space, and this was explained extensively in my #1 huge mistake all Plat players make, is that they just think staying alive is the objective in this game, when that doesn't do anything beyond keep you at Plat. Like, not dying breaks you out of gold, but it doesn't get you much farther. You have to actually begin to learn the game after that point. The basic mechanics of survival are no longer enough to rank you beyond that. In this hectic team fight where, again, Genji Blade is getting value, the call is made for us to die on point, assuming the team fight's over.
Die on
him.
point.
Meanwhile, that hasn't been a thing since like dive meta years ago. Telling your tanks Orisa and Hog to die on point rather than survive contesting the point longer so they don't cap and you get respawns back, kind of confusing. Die on point, so just give up fighting right now. No, you don't want to do that. You want to try to use the cooldowns you have available to you to thin out the attack. Granted, you definitely have to contest the cart before it caps, but trying to duck away and make a play happen and find a frag somewhere is what you definitely want to do. You have to like sneakily find value with some of your cooldowns, not just die on point. You don't just do a belly flop onto the payload and concede. No, this is the type of situation where any kill we get makes our teammates who just died lives much easier. And in fact, we do. We get value out of halt, anti-nade, nano gets popped, and then with the wave of reinforcements, we're able to stabilize. This is exactly what you want to do. The other side of this coin is when you get into a game like this, I think you have to more quickly be willing to either shut this type of player out emotionally, not get invested in debating with them, because if they're already in this state, they're not really going to be reasoned with. And if it affects you emotionally and your play, just mute them. It definitely did used to tilt me when there was this kind of conflict in game, especially when the calls are pretty much objectively wrong. But playing on an ult account with the other Your Overwatch buddies at around Diamond, you kind of have to expect the game sense to not quite be there. I just wish the civility rating was a bit higher, I guess. And as you might imagine, the same type of attitude kept going on the attacking side as well. I don't want to belabor the point, but my guy, you can't say stuff like this and then play like this as well.
That is the 4th time he has hit me in the head.
So in a choke, your tank's not back yet, you're looking at a shield, there's no good shots for you to take, you got hit by a halt because your positioning and awareness is incredibly bad here.
So shooting at a deflecting Genji, that's how he just killed me. Can you not do that?
Yet you complain about someone shooting the Genji reflect. Like, there was 3 things shooting at you, dude. You're just gonna die. Your positioning was terrible. It's just baffling, right? What more can I say? He gets outplayed repeatedly by the enemy team's DPS, getting headshot by Hanzo, a character that beats him at long range, dove by Doomfist, dove by Genji Blade. Yeah, I hate to break it to you, Ashe isn't one of the best characters in the game right now. She's a bit of a struggle to play. You definitely can get her to work, but all the duels you've been losing all game are exactly the ones you need to focus on how to win, on top of also getting value out of Bob and doing a whole load of other things better. But the only way you even start to open that door is if you stop blaming your teammates. Because here's the thing. I've been playing with Weagle recently. He just came back to the game after a year. He's not very good yet, but his aim is actually legit, okay? There's a bunch of characters he doesn't really have the game sense for, the timings or the footsie maneuvers or anything like that, but if you give him like Hanzo or Zen, let's put it this way, he's not losing range duels constantly screaming down the mic that he's getting beat. It doesn't happen. I've played with him a ton. I review his VODs, right? And it's just sad to see that we picked around this guy and our other teammate trying to fill their blind spots to have a positive impact on the game, work together as a team, and people have the attitude that like everybody's an enemy, even my teammates, thinking they're putting a lot of work because I don't know, maybe he's got gold damage, throwing TNTs over a shield, hitting the entire enemy team but not killing anything, charging their support ults, then wasting Bob over and over again. No, he definitely contributed to the loss. All right, guys, well, that's everything for this really weird VOD review. Replay justice is what I'm calling it. Hopefully, it's not something I have to do too regularly, but I think it's the type of attitude that we shouldn't tolerate in this community. Instead, we should be enjoying the game and trying to improve and win together. And I wanted to give a special shout out, and this was just all too funny and perfect. Our Baptiste player was actually a trooper. He was trying his best, very good teammate, and then I go over here to read his name, and his username on Battle.net is Bad OW Player. The irony, right? Guys, if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave it a like. It really does help us out. Lets us know that you're enjoying the content. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell icon so that you get notified when our videos go live. Link to the description is our Twitter. We tweet out news, updates, and dank memes. That's been it for me. I've been FREEDO for your Overwatch. See you guys next time.